World-class lessons from the real estate industry's top 1%, empowering agents to think bigger and do more to create life by design. Get access to exclusive interviews with top producing real estate professionals. Listen in as we talk about their journey into business, best practices, and lessons learned. Hosted by Kiro Nasrallah and John Scipione.
I mean, one thing that we always say in our office is just action is better than perfection, right?
This is Light It Up with Lighthouse Residential.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Light It Up podcast. I am super excited to have with us today Mr. Michael Ziffra, MZ. He is an EOS business coach across the country to some top business owners, we should say. MZ happens to be mine and Kiro's coach for our residential real estate brokerage, Lighthouse Residential. He's already provided us with a tremendous amount of value for our business, so we thought it would be super valuable to share some of that and bring him on this platform to share that with some of the other real estate professionals out there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the introduction.
There you go.
Yeah, I have 40 years of business experience of what not to do in business, and I'm always glad to share that with people.
Well, this is going to be great.
Awesome. Well, as I said, Kiro and I always try to bring business professionals who will bring value to this platform. And, as soon as we sat down with you for our initial meeting for our business, the light bulb went off, and I think Kiro said, you know what, we got to have MZ on the show. So it was an easy decision for us. So thank you again for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, well, glad to be here, and I guess I can fool anybody, huh?
All right, so let's take it a step back for a second, because up until, I don't even know, 12 months ago, if somebody were to say to me, EOS, I'm not sure everybody would necessarily know what that means.
Yeah.
So do you want to give us a little bit of the backstory on EOS and how long you've been with them and what exactly you do?
Yeah. So, it's kind of interesting. When I ran my event production business for past 40 years before selling it, the company was SCS, and I'm not really going to tell you the truth of what the initials did stand for.
Did you know?
But, I did.
Oh, okay.
I did, but, we got real creative, and, one of the acronyms that we came up for SCS to solve the initials was stupid clients suck. So EOS actually stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Yep. And EOS is all about helping businesses and business owners get what they want out of life through their business. And I've been doing it now for, about 4.5 years or so.
Yeah.
And it's been a phenomenal journey, and doors just keep opening up. It's amazing how many business owners start their business because they're really passionate about what they do. And then along the journey, the day-to-day operations really overtake what they're doing, and they lose their vision. And they lose their interest in their business. They get burnt out because all they're doing, Kiro, as we were talking about on the way over here, is solving problems.
Yeah.
Right?
So how were you exposed to EOS? And when, at what point did you decide to become a coach?
Right. So I picked up Gino Wickman is the actual person that put EOS together. And, that's really interesting because EOS is founded on management principles that have been around for 100 years and will be around for 100 more years. There's really no silver bullet or magic pill that you're going to take to help your business succeed. Gino put together the best management principles that people can use in their business in a simple format. So, Gino really is the one that started EOS, and I came across his book, Traction. Traction is the book. And I read the book and realized, hey, there's a better way of doing this than what I've been doing, and it's a lot less painful. Yeah. So I introduced EOS to my business, and the beautiful thing about it is when I first implemented EOS, I increased my profits 112% that year. And,
so
and I used a lot of different management principles in my business before finding EOS. And EOS by far was the most successful operating system to run a business by.
Yeah. I feel like this is going to sound like we're sponsored by EOS or that they've sponsored this conversation. Of course they haven't, but we just found a tremendous amount of information and found it tremendously helpful in our business. So again, that was the reason to have you on the podcast today. And so let me just take that a step back for a second. So you actually read Traction, while you were still, working in your business, working on your business. So you read it back then, and then when you sold the business years later, you decided, hey, let me reach out to these guys and see if there's an opportunity for me to work with them.
Yeah, it's really an interesting journey. At least I find it interesting, probably because it's my journey. But let's talk about my favorite subject, me. After selling the business, what happened is I was really lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I knew I wasn't done, and there was more out there for me. So I hired an executive coach, and through working with the executive coach, he helped me realize that because I ran EOS in my business, that I could become what's termed an EOS implementer. And really, that's how I started doing what I'm doing now. Is an executive coach really created that realization
Awesome.
of what's next.
Awesome. And for those of you out there, the two books that MZ has referred to, Traction. Well, I guess you haven't necessarily referred to Rocket Fuel yet. Both written by Gino Wickman. I mean, I'll be honest. I think I picked up Traction years ago, and couldn't necessarily get through it. And now that we're actually going through the course with you, it's making a hell of a lot more sense. The first few times I was like, and I have a genuine, like every book I read is about business or real estate or, I don't read a lot of other topics really. And so having a business mind, I thought I would have liked it. I really couldn't get into it until it was really like part of our process.
Yeah, it makes more sense when it's practical, meaning that you can actually start using
Yeah.
it, and then it starts making sense. I would say for individuals that really want to just get exposed to what EOS could do for you, pick up the book Get a Grip. Get a Grip. And it's a parable about a business team that needs to work through their difficulties, and they hire an EOS implementer. So it really unpacks everything that Traction uses in the tools, but it puts it together in a story.
Yeah.
And that's how our brains work, right? Our brains really work in stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We can relate better when somebody's telling us a story about whatever it is they're trying to communicate.
I think I heard of EOS probably a couple times within the last year. And I always thought, okay, this doesn't sound like it's real estate related. It can't be implemented in this business, but it almost sounds like EOS could be implemented in any kind of business out there.
Oh, that's so good, Kiro. That's the beauty of EOS. It's not industry or business specific.
Yep.
Every business needs the 6 key components of the business, which are vision, and then having the right people to make sure that those people can execute on the vision, and then setting the business up on operating on real data, real objective information, because as business owners, we often just run our business on gut feeling, right? Subjective information, not really objective information. And then how do you solve issues, right? We have to, through the journey that I've had, I've come to realize that business is about 2 things. It's about solving the problems or issues for your clients, or solving the problems and issues within your business. You have to get really good at solving your issues and making them go away, and then setting up your processes, because business is all about running on a process. Kiro and I were talking, John, on the way over here about how people will leave, people will come and go in a business, but the processes are going to stay, right?
Yeah.
And then bringing it down to the ground with execution
Yeah.
and traction, right?
Well, it's funny. It's like, I've been running, Kiro and I have been running Lighthouse, our brokerage now for, over 2 years. And, before that, I ran my own brokerage for, 4 or 5 years. And it's funny, you get this far and you do all this business and you do all these deals, and then it's just crazy to think that year 5 or year 7, however I look at it, that all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, now we need SOPs.
Oh.
Now we need a process. Like if a client comes in, what's the process? And it's just crazy to think like you'd think that that's like what you should be doing day one, right?
Right.
And it's crazy to sort of like take a step back and look at it from overhead and say, hey, what are the things that we need to implement immediately to make sure that this is no longer dysfunctional?
Oh, and
right?
it's really the fastest, quickest, most painless way to scale a business. Set up your processes.
Right.
Right.
But so many people get stuck working in the business
Yeah.
on the hamster wheel that,
So
that it's hard to actually set aside time to work in the business. And I remember my old real estate coach, not our business coach, but my real estate coach used to tell me, well, John, you have to set aside, 1 day a week or certain hours. And it's hard. And, and especially when you're becoming productive and the business is growing and good things are happening, it's like, well, how am I going to stop what I'm doing? Because we have clients and things we need to do to work on the business. There's never a right time.
yeah, that's so right, so good. I'm thinking about, I'm going in the danger zone here. I think I'm going to jump in the deep end without without a life preserver on this one. But
We got you.
I think about the New England Patriots, right? And their system, right? And look at how they've been so successful for all of those years. And it's all about the system, right? Yeah, they had the right talent, and they make sure that their culture is set up correct so that they attract the right people and only bring the right people in to the team. But at the end of the day, it's a system that they run that allows them to be successful. Yeah. If you're really interested in learning more about the New England Patriots and how to build systems, Harvard Business Review did a business case study on the organization.
Really?
And one of the things that I remember about the article was how they would interview players to see if they would fit within the system, within their process. And Kiro, if you were a running back and we were interviewing you to be a member of the Patriots, and when it came time for you to ask a question, if you said, well, MZ, how many touches am I going to get in a game? Well, that'd be a no right there, because it's all
what's in
about-
it for you. It's different instead of being selfless
so
and contributing
right.
to the team.
Yeah.
Is that like a Bill Belichick thing?
Well, he's
Or
he's-
Kraft or...
I think it's Belichick that really put the systems together that built the culture that, you think about Tom Brady when he reduced his own contract and gave money back to the organization to stay under the cap to go get the players they needed. And oh, by the way, they didn't go get offensive linemen to protect Brady. They didn't go get running backs or wide receivers. They went and used that money to get defensive backs to bolster up their defense.
Yeah.
Really had nothing to do with Tom Brady. It had to do with the whole team.
Yeah.
And, if you can, we're kind of segueing from the process now into
That's all right.
the culture. If you can set up a successful culture in your organization and align yourself with the people that believe in that culture, you can accomplish anything you want.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And by the way, you can talk about the Patriots. It's you're
okay.
from Chicago. Like if you were a Boston guy, like pounding your chest, talking about like the Patriots, then it's different story.
I could do my best Boston.
That's solid.
So, MZ, one of the things that we wanted to walk through with you is can you just list out really at like a high level, the 6 components of EOS?
Right. So just kind of going back, again, it's the first key component is all about vision and making sure everybody's 100% on the same page with where you're going. And then the second is the people component, making sure you have the right people, so they're aligned with your core values. That's how you build the culture. And they sit in the right seats. So we use something called the accountability chart. Many people will know it as the organizational chart. And the third key component is all about the data, doing measures to see how we're successful. Many people will recognize KPIs, key performance indicators.
Sure.
Right? So we use leading indicators on that. And then, again, the issue solving component. You know, the favorite thing that I do for my clients and working with people is solving their issues and giving them the weight to be able to solve their issues. Because when you can get to the core of an issue and just tear it apart to solve it so it goes away forever, it's a game changer. No longer are you coming back next week at a meeting going, oh, I thought you did it. No, I thought you did it, right? No, it's so good. I like to tell the story of the U.S. Parks Department. And at the Jefferson Memorial, they had a problem with the marble was crumbling down. And they were doing frequent washings of the marble because of the pigeons, the pigeon population. Of course, you know, they're pooping all over, right? So they have to clean it. So they asked, well, why do we have so many pigeons? Well, they came to find out that there was an abundant food supply of spiders, and the pigeons would eat the spiders. So they asked, well, why are there so many spiders? And come to find out that when they turned the lights on at night to light up the memorial, it, of course, starts attracting all the insects. They get all excited and come out, and they get, from the lights, they get caught in the spider webs, and of course, then the spiders start eating them, and the pigeons come eat the spider.
Sure.
So what was a frequent washing of the marble really was turn the lights on 1 hour later, reduce the population by 90%. And you don't have to wash the monuments so often, right? Oh, and by the way, they started to save some money on that too because the lights went on an hour later. So solving your issues and making sure you're doing it at the core is really vital to having your organization gain speed. So, and real quick, the fifth key component again is the processes. So everybody knows what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to do it. So when you look in your organization, everywhere you go, whoever is touching that process, you know they're doing that step correctly. And then the last one, of course, is traction. It's all about execution. You know, if you think about a vision at the top and traction execution at the bottom, a vision without the traction execution is what? It's a dream.
Exactly.
So, you know, one of the interesting things is that I find, I feel like the only books I actually read are business-minded, business-oriented books. And, you know, what I found interesting is that I think I had tried to start reading Traction 6 months, 12 months, I don't know, it was over a year ago. And I honestly wasn't able to get through it. And I genuinely enjoyed business type books, but now that we've started our I'm trying to avoid using the word journey. I tease him for using the word journey all the time.
He's like, you use big words out of nowhere.
You know, Barbie likes the band Journey, and I just think it's chick rock. But that's okay. We can stop using.
I actually have nothing against Journey. It's just I don't know.
It's because I said it.
I'm like, why you don't even use that word? Anyway, Traction has helped us. You know, with our journey now that we've started working together, it's actually started to make sense to me, and I think it's just because it is something that we're in the midst of implementing. So, I appreciate you reminding me that was a good book, and now we're on to Rocket Fuel.
It's really interesting how when you read something, it doesn't make sense until you practically start putting it into use, and then it starts, clicking. And again, I think that for people listening to this that are interested in learning more about EOS, I find the first book most useful is Get a Grip, because it's a parable. It tells a story, and it tells about a company that is on, well, what are we going to use besides journey here, guys? That's,
Path.
yeah, they're on their path, and I find it's an easier read to get started because it's an actual story. It's a page turner. It's
Get a
like,
grip.
Get a grip.
Is that Gino Wickman too?
It is Gino Wickman, right?
The
And
man.
it's set up exactly the way that we're going to execute what we're doing for EOS. It's going to make complete sense to you.
I know I was supposed to read Rocket Fuel by tomorrow. Was I supposed to read Get a Grip too?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
One thing I'll share that MZ said, since we're talking about journey now, EOS improves the quality.
I thought it was path.
Well, let's just use both. But we were talking about journey, and EOS improves the quality of your journey because your business is a journey.
Yeah.
And then MZ said something that was really important. He said people mistake it. The destination, the journey is the destination because that's what it is. There is no destination that you're aiming for. It's the
Right.
destination. Destination is, you say it better than I.
Yeah. So what I shared is
Tell us what
the
MZ,
journey.
Tell us what you shared because
I couldn't.
he's struggling.
I couldn't say it.
The journey is the destination, and
Yeah.
our role is just to be the best travelers along that journey that we can be
Yep.
to the destination.
I don't know if
and I think it's really similar to running a marathon. Life is a marathon run in a series of sprints uphill, and you have to sprint to the top of the hill because you can't see what's next. So you're constantly trying to get to that next thing, which is okay, because once you figure one thing out as you're sprinting up and you get to the top of the hill, you can look around, get your equilibrium, and say, oh, there's the next one that I have to go to. So, I was thinking of writing a book, you guys. What do you think about this for a title of a book?
Amen.
The Journey for the Exploration of My Soul. Why be a brown paper bag when you could be psychedelic saran wrap?
You're gonna need a small font or a big cover.
Yeah. Kiro's like, what are you talking about, MZ?
No, I think he's liking it.
He's like, what is that?
I've always been interested in psychedelic experiences. Never had one, but tell me more.
Yeah, well, you think about a brown paper bag. What's a brown paper bag, right? If you live your life inside a brown paper bag, it's brown. It's a paper bag. But if you start living your life into what I call psychedelic saran wrap, think of all the kaleidoscope possibilities. So, I think that's the difference is a brown paper bag compared to a kaleidoscope. You guys know what a kaleidoscope is, right? Yeah. So that's, the exploration for my soul. Yeah.
You ever listen to Jim Rohn back in the day?
Jim, I watch a little bit of Jim Rohn, and I do have some Jim Rohn books. Yeah.
What's his saying? He said it's not about the journey, it's about who you become along the way.
Yeah.
So I think that's in line with what you were saying.
Yeah.
MZ, can you share some of the industries that you worked with?
Yeah. So, again, the thing about what I do is not industry specific.
Yeah.
So I've worked with some startups that are out there revolutionizing industries. I've worked with IT companies and marketing companies, service companies, even a dentist, right? I helped a dentist. And, real estate seems to be really big right now. I'm finding that the realtors are very hungry for being able to build their business. I think about this a lot. Tell me if this makes sense.
I have no idea where he's going with this.
So it's like you two were given the keys to a Ferrari, right? And you know what kind of gas to put in the Ferrari, right? You're going to run premium in there. But you weren't given the manual on how to really run the Ferrari, how to operate it, right? Nobody
true.
really showed you how to do it. You're really good at doing real estate. Building a business is different,
Yeah.
right? And that's where I can come in and help the business owners really understand what does it take to be able to scale a business,
Yeah.
right? Because that's completely different than running the business. that's where I could come in and start working with business owners. Again, business owners have a vision. That's why they start their businesses, because they're passionate about doing something. And once you start running a business after a while, if you don't have the structure and framework in place, what you're going to do is start getting sucked into the vortex of running the day-to-day parts of the business.
And the business takes over you.
Yeah, and then, then you become the business and you lose your vision. And guess what? It's no fun.
Yeah.
Right? I've been there. I learned the hard way.
One of the things I talk about with my business coach, who we actually had on the show a few weeks back, he's like, businesses fail for two reasons. A, lack of resources, or B, people just get exhausted and they're just lack of interest, right? They're just like, I'm sick of handling the day to day, right?
Yeah,
So, no, you're absolutely right. And we actually have a similar analogy in our business. Like, there's absolutely no barriers to entry in this business.
Mm-hmm.
You can go out, get your license, I think now in New Jersey with COVID in 2 weeks, 3
Virtually.
weeks.
No
Virtually.
classes in
You don't
person.
even have to go to the school anymore and sit with all those crazy people. And then you can handle the single most important sale of someone's life, right?
Right.
With
right,
absolutely no prior sales experience.
So,
it's crazy.
I think that's an opportunity. I think that is, right? So if you twist that and put it on its head, and you have these inexperienced people out there that think that they're realtors,
Sure.
right? You can really start differentiating yourself from the competitors. So the question I have, and I debate this all the time, and maybe we have to put some context around, what does it mean? So, first one, would you rather be better than your competition, or would you rather be different than your competition? Which one
Different.
would you rather be? Yeah. Why? Why, Kiro?
It's because it's the last thing, with the impression that you give to other people. And people will know who you are from that point on, and that's more important than just being better, because it's not tangible.
Right. So, do you have?
Unless it's a trick question and you
No,
just
I would-
trick me.
No.
I'm over here like, yes, is it right? I don't know. Tell me the answer now.
I would say different as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's-
So, John, why?
Well, it's just, this process can be so convoluted and so, what's the opposite of seamless? So bumpy.
Complex.
And complex. And there's too many chefs in the kitchen, and lenders and title people and attorneys. And, it can be very, very frustrating. So, the way to do it different is, of course, to try to make it more seamless. And that's where I was going before, is just there's so many people out there with absolutely no sales experience, no real estate experience handling these transactions. And you end up with a lot of incompetent people, unfortunately. But that's why, 5% of the agents do 95% of the business. And that's a true stat in almost all of the markets across the U.S. But again, even, some of these top teams, we'll bring in a coach, again, to get the processes in place. And it's almost like, what do they say? Like the first step in admitting you have a problem is, what is it?
Oh, wait.
First step in
do
recovery
you know
is
my?
admitting you have a problem.
Yeah, this
do-
is an
do you
AA
know-
meeting.
Yep.
Do you,
The
yeah,
first
do you know
step
my
is admitting you have
childhood
the
here?
problem.
Where are we going? Right? Hold on here.
But that's what it was. Like we sort of realized, all right, guys, like we don't have it all figured out. We could read a million books, but unless we actually bring somebody in who can, sort of get everything in order, we can't keep moving forward. We can't scale, right? It's the first step is admitting that you have the problem, right? So when we heard that you had worked with Lee Marcus in Chicago, not to drop names, but he had tremendous success working with you and going through the EOS system. That was that was all we needed to hear, and that's how we connected. So
Yeah. And it's not me, you guys. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not me. Okay. There's a system and a framework, and there's an actual way to be able to be successful at business. EOS is the best method to help you do that. But again, it's not me. I know business because I've been in business. I ran a business for 40 years. I know what not to do in business. I learned the hard way. In the end, the businesses that I work with that are most successful, they do the work.
yeah,
So one of my long-standing clients recently sold their business to a PE firm, and one of the partners called me up to thank me for helping them. And as we were going through things, I said, but you guys did the work, not me. I just, of course, he says, well, MZ, no, you had a big part of it, but it's really up to the leaders and the owners of the organizations to do the work. I can't motivate you to do everything that I'm showing you and telling you to do. You have to do it.
Right.
That's true.
Well, it's almost like going through the EOS material in itself, right? You were in essence sort of the visionary for us, right? Like we have the vision for our business, but you have the EOS vision, and then it's up to us to actually implement it, right?
And
We
and
could all
draw
go
it
to
out.
Yeah, we could read books and we could go to all these events and watch things on YouTube and all these things, but unless you actually come back and integrate it and take action, then
Well,
it just
that's
could
why
be
they call it
another-
the accountability chart. So it's the
Yeah,
way everybody's
right.
held to it. Well, with what you're saying, MZ, and all the experiences you had, what would you say is the biggest challenges that some owners face when wanting to take their business in the next level, and what stops them?
Yeah. Biggest challenges. Well, first of all is I think getting clarity, and especially for visionaries. So we describe visionaries as big thinkers and people who look down on the business from a 30,000-foot level. They're creative at solving problems. They come up with 30, 40 ideas just for breakfast. And what happens is visionaries lose clarity very quickly. They get bored. They want to go on to the next thing. They're constantly chasing the shiny stuff, the next best thing. And getting disciplined to stay within the lanes of what you do really, really well is extremely important, because as you keep taking off ramps, you're never going to get to where you're going. If you're going from New Jersey to California and you have a road map, and EOS and the Vision Traction Organizer will build out that vision so you can get to California, but the visionary is going to keep wanting to take the off ramps because there's something really nice on the way there to go see. Oh, there's an overlook. Let's go over here and let's look at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
So I think remaining disciplined and keeping clarity is one of the biggest challenges. Of course, guys, it's people. I hate that cliche. I really do. Did a lot of thinking about it, right? Oh, people are our best assets, right? Oh, our people make the difference. And then I did a little bit of drill down on it and started to think, there's really a lot of truth to that. So let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever gone into a business where you walk into the business and it's alive? Like, it's just got the vibe.
You can feel the energy.
Yeah.
You could feel the energy. People are happy that you're there.
Yeah.
They show up to help you. Oh, have you ever gone into a business where you walk in and it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then you go up to an associate and, you're like a speed bump in their day. Oh, sorry to interrupt you. Why'd you come to work today? I
Yeah.
didn't mean
That's
to
the
ruin your
DMV
day.
right there. It's a perfect example.
Right? So I would say that, just you really have to work hard at making sure that you have the people around you who are aligned on that vision, have that clarity of where you want to go, that can help you execute it. Get those two things right, and I think the rest of what I do and what it requires to be successful at business starts falling into place, because really that stuff, we'll call it stuff, those tools are really something that I can teach,
Yeah.
right? The first two, I can help guide, but it's really up to you guys as the business owner to figure that out and maintain that discipline and make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the people that you need and want.
Yeah. Well, maintaining that clarity is a struggle, right? Because it's easy to say you have to stay focused and have that clarity, but what can you actually do? What can you implement so that way you're not being distracted?
Right.
Because if the vision gets dull, going after one thing over and over again and not getting excited by the other things, what do you do then?
Yeah. Well, that's where that's where
Can you
the,
tell who's in what role over here?
you know, the company that I referred to earlier that got bought, one of my clients, I remember a couple of years into the process as we meet every 90 days and we would review the vision. And the visionary said to me, if I have to do this one more time, I'm going to swallow a bullet, MZ. But yet they kept the commitment and the discipline and saw the value of what we do. Because here's the reality, guys. When we work in our business for about a 90-day period, working in our business, we get lost. We get into the weeds.
Yeah.
And we have to find our way back out. That's why once we get to the execution part of EOS, we come together every 90 days. So you keep that focus and we get reoriented as to where we want to go and then set ourselves up for what we have to do the next 90 days to make sure we're executing on that vision.
Yeah.
And that's where the role of the visionary, the big thinker, and the person who really drives the business, the integrator, and we call that the integrator because that's the person that really beats the drum of the organization and makes sure the trains arrive on time and are leaving on time. And that at that point, that allows the visionary to go out and do the things that the visionary really enjoys doing. It's like, kicking the baby bird out of the nest. It's like, be gone, be free, and go fly.
Yeah. That's, that's interesting. Have you ever read The Art of War, the book by Sun Tzu?
I have a while ago. I'm familiar with it. By the way, guys, I probably have about 1,500 business books in my library, so there's probably very few books I haven't read.
I'm sure you read it then.
Yeah. So Sun Tzu always used to say, the war is always won before the battle is fought. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So
Told you he got deep.
it's yeah. I think it's about preparation and really about knowing yourself. It was shared with me by somebody who's a lot wiser than I am that the first rule of business is thou shalt not BS yourself, right? So, I think it's about the preparation, knowing yourself, and I think you also have to know your competition, what you're up against, right? I mean, when you think about it, Kiro, what do you think?
Well, that was my follow-up question, a good one. But from your experience, when you're meeting new clients, is there any indicators that you can see or sense or tell that can tell you if that company is going to succeed or if it's going to fail? Because if I see a property, if John sees a property, we're like, this is a piece of shit, it's not going to sell. Or this is a great place, it's going to sell in a heartbeat. It's like there's an intuition almost immediately in your gut. From your experience, is there some indicators, some tell signs that can tell you, yeah, this is going to work, or no, this looks like it's going to be tough?
Yeah, well, they're all tough.
For sure.
None of them are easy, and they're all different, right?
Yeah.
So, the 5 real estate companies that I work with across the country, you guys are all different,
Yeah.
right? And I look at your accountability charts, they're all different,
Yeah.
right? So, are there really cues or clues that I could tap into to see if a business is going to be successful? And, I don't think there's anything profound to say about that other than the individuals have to be coachable.
Yeah.
They have to want to learn. So what I like about you guys, and, we're just getting to know each other, but it's become apparent that the both of you are life learners. And I think that if a business is going to be successful, the people that are running the business have to be coachable and want to learn. So, and that kind of takes me back to when I started the business, I ran the business. Guys, you have so many more resources available to you to be successful than I had, right?
Like what?
Well, like me.
Yeah,
like
sure.
like
Very good point.
EOS.
Yeah.
Like management principles and practices really didn't come around until Harvard Business Review and Wharton Business School and Peter Drucker all started to talk about management and what management
Right.
is, right? And then you have Michael Porter, who started to come out, and he was the one that really started to put business strategies on the map. That, hey, we need a business strategy. We need to know how we're going to get to where we want to go. And oh, by the way, there's a process for building strategies.
Yeah.
So that really only started to come out my midterm career. So I think you're in a really good position because there's a lot of really good tools out there that you guys have available, and I give you a lot of credit for wanting to be mentored and leaning into those tools. I'll tell you this: transparency, going deep, a little bit about MZ.
Dum dum dum.
And this isn't anything I haven't shared with my wife, Barbie. Love you, darling. If there's one thing that I regret that I could go back and do differently, and this is from my heart, guys.
Sir, you're skipping ahead. That was one of our questions. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Okay. So I can't help
You
myself.
just killed the soft moment. He was going deep.
You had to keep it real.
regret.
None of us are that soft.
Yeah, he could see I was going to start crying. He's like, "Oh, okay, can't have that."
Have another sip.
It was that regret would be that I didn't take the time to connect myself with other like-minded individuals who may have been a little bit further ahead in their journey than I am, that could mentor me. I always thought, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to figure it out. Well, guys, there's a easier way of doing it. And the difference between knowledge and wisdom is what?
His execution.
Knowledge is learning from your experience. Wisdom is learning from
what's the
somebody
difference?
else's
Interesting.
experience,
Yeah.
right? And it was that attitude that, geez, I ran the business for 40 years. I iterated it 3 different times. So when I sold the business, it was completely different than when I started,
Yeah.
right? And you asked earlier, Kiro, about, how do you do that? How do you stay focused? How do you, for 40 years I did that, right? And it's a battle,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of self-reflection and conversations you have with yourself that help you be successful. And again, tapping into the individuals that have done its job,
Yeah.
I think is really key, right?
What I'll respond to that and just say, I think that's actually one of the things that I think Kiro and I actually do pretty well is that we do seek out a lot of mentors. So much so that, we even, we've shadowed a lot of top producing agents. We've shadowed a lot of team leaders. If we know that somebody's speaking at an event, we're going to be there and be in the front row and take so many notes that they wonder who the hell this person is and why they're following them around. But that is one thing that we really try to focus on. I would say almost so much so that it's to a fault, where it's like we come back with all these crazy ideas where we're like, well, he's doing this and he's doing this and like sometimes we have to figure out like which ones like we actually want to do.
Oh, that's so good. Jim Collins in his book Good to Great,
Yeah.
phenomenal. Anybody that's in business,
Yep.
pick up and read Jim Collins' Good to Great.
Yep.
In the book, he says businesses die more from indigestion than they do from starvation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So elaborate on that now.
Yeah. Well, as a business becomes successful, as you grow your business and you have additional opportunities that start coming to you, how do you stay focused on what you're doing and what you do best, what you do really well? So
That's easy. I just focus on my 5 rocks.
That's it.
He
for
knew
the
that from
next-
day one. That's very.
for the next 60 days,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Or
it.
you got 30 days.
Nothing. I just
right?
put my blinders on.
I'm going to call you out on that tomorrow. All right? We're going to see what the truth is.
Potentially.
And what he's really focusing on. Show me your calendar, and I'll tell you what you're focusing on.
It's true.
Right? Yeah, that is, absolutely true. So if you're a brain surgeon, right, you're a world-renowned brain surgeon. You're a world-renowned brain surgeon. You're the best in the world, right? John has a brain tumor. I'm sorry, John. John has a brain tumor.
God forbid.
And right, and he needs it taken care of, and he's going to seek you out, right? That's how good you are, right? Just because you're good at brain surgery, that doesn't make you good at limb replacement. Two different things, two different
Right.
skill sets. So when I talk about dying from indigestion, I'm talking about honing your skills in what you do really well, and that's brain surgery, right? Not limb replacement, not kidney replacement,
Yeah.
right? But the brain. So how do you stay focused in that area so you don't die from indigestion?
Yeah.
Right.
Staying in your lane and being able
Yeah.
to be dedicated to that.
And that's where I'll put my foot on your throat.
Yeah.
Thanks. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Enough said there. Wow. Foot on the throat. All right.
Well, that's the old MZ. Yeah, I'll tell you some fun stories about the old MZ.
Yeah.
You won't believe it. Yeah, you'll be like, no, that ain't you.
So,
Oh, yeah.
who would you say has had like the most impact on your life and most influence on you and maybe building your business and whether that was when you were building your business or in your current business with EOS?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to step out of bounds on that one a little bit because, again, building my business, kind of did it on my own thing. I just didn't want anybody to come in my sandbox and mess me up. I got it, right? And you know what, guys, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I admit the mistake. But after I sold the business and my identity was really tied to the business, right? I didn't know who I was without my business, right?
What exactly does that mean?
That means that I didn't know what to do with myself, right? And I actually went through something that I termed the dark night of the soul, right? When my soul was depleted, I didn't know who I was. And it was only through the grace of God and some really strong faith-based individuals that came and surrounded me that stopped me from going over the deep, deep, deep edge. Things were so difficult for me, guys, that my wife Barbie, she's my rock. She wouldn't even leave me alone, right? She would be on constant watch with me. I didn't know what I was doing with myself, and I found myself a spiritual mentor, right? And shout out to my buddy and friend Steve Carter. He's got a new book out. It's called The Thing Beneath the Thing. If you want to figure out the thing beneath the thing, phenomenal stuff. Right?
Yeah.
I invite you to read it. It'll help you understand why you do a lot of the things you do. Right? Yeah. So I really found that the biggest influence that I had on my life that made the biggest change was my mentor, Steve Carter.
Wow.
Honest and truly, yeah. That's, he really changed my life. So, we were joking about the old MZ, and true story that after I sold the business, I would circle back with a few of my contacts that knew me as I ran the event production business, and as we were having conversations, near the end of the conversation, we'd be saying goodbye, John, right?
Yeah.
And, I'm walking away, and the person would pull me back. Go, MZ, hold on. There's one more thing. Like, yeah, what, John? What do you? You're different, MZ. There's something changed about you. You're not the same MZ. You're completely different than the MZ that I knew. And oh, by the way, I like you better now than I did back then. I had a banker that told me that, right? This guy banked, he was my banker for, 7-10 years. I don't remember. His name was Scott. And he said, MZ, when I showed up to see you at your office, you scared me. You intimidated me. I was afraid, right? And I know you guys, They're laughing at me right now going, hey, I can't believe that's MZ.
No, I was actually laughing because I'm like, I wonder if people think that I'm, I wouldn't say intimidating, but just like, I don't know.
Oh, you are intimidating. You scare me.
I would say, you know, get me at the right time, I guess.
Very moody, just to say the least.
So,
Yeah.
you know, Kira, I kind of went deep there, but,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
I love that.
I'm transparent, and, you know, that's kind of who I am now. I'm not
Why,
gonna hide it. Yeah.
Why, if you don't mind me asking, why sell the business if you weren't sure
Yeah.
what you wanted to do next?
Well, after you do it for 40 years, it just wasn't fun anymore, guys.
Yeah.
And I came to the realization that something was going on inside of me, and it was no longer fulfilling my soul, right? That was all part of the journey,
Yeah.
right? I was getting depleted and run out. And fast forward to what I'm doing now, and, you know, Kiro and I were talking on the way over. John,
Sure.
I wish you could have been there. You know, as to why I fly out to see you guys and help
Yeah.
you, right? Certainly not the money. You know, we had that conversation early on, right? It's not the money. It's because I want to transform your guys' life. I want to change your life. I'm going to make sure that you get what you want out of life through your business.
Yeah.
And when you're successful at your business, you're going to be a better husband,
Yeah.
a better dad, right? You're going to be a better leader, Kiro, right? And that's a fact. When the business isn't working and you're not happy in the business, guess what? You're going to be miserable everywhere else,
Yeah.
right? So I'm out to transform people's lives. So the difference from what I was doing, event production and parties and blah, 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 yay, right?
Yeah.
To changing people's lives, there's the magic right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the biggest issue is when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have anyone holding you accountable, right? Because you're your own boss in essence. So it's getting, I guess it's facing the reality and telling yourself, listen, I have two options. It's either you're suffering the consequences of what it takes to be disciplined to those actions every single day, or you're going to suffer the consequences of regret that you never actually got to
So
that time
good.
or
Yeah.
that opportunity.
Yeah, you're so right with that. Yeah. I love that.
Thanks. Go, sorry.
Okay.
Can you take a second and we were talking about identifying issues. Can you share what IDS stands for? So in EOS, there's an IDS, identify, discuss, and solve. And I think
Right.
that's super powerful. Can you share what that?
Yeah. So, you know, I'm so glad that you were able to fill in that acronym of, you know, what each letter means, because I was going to ask you guys,
hard.
what does it mean? Am I doing a good job here? Do you really know what it means?
If I would have gotten that wrong, then you had a problem.
You know,
He's not learning.
I shared a little bit about the story with the Jefferson Memorial, right?
Yep.
And the importance of solving issues at the core.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't care what business you're in or what level of business you're in, Fortune 500 company or, you know, an entrepreneur company of 3 people. We're just not good at solving issues.
Yeah.
We're just, you know, we solve them at the surface. And, you know, our brains go to what we think is the best solution off the cuff, right? Oh, I got this. I know what's going on. I know what the real problem is here. And we really don't take the time to be curious, to peel back the layers of the onion, to really see what's at the core of it. Oh, by the way, the onion, it's because you start crying and it's painful.
Yeah.
Right? I like are you familiar with the 5 dysfunctions of a team? Patrick Lencioni, phenomenal book. We'll really unpack that when we get together at our annual. There's 5 rungs to being able to be a high-functioning team, to be able to resolve your issues. At the core of this pyramid, there's 5 rungs to the pyramid of being a high-functioning team so you can really get to the root of what's going on. At the core is trust. We have to trust each other. We have to trust each other that we can be vulnerable, right? Really deep and vulnerable. You know, I just got vulnerable with you guys, right?
Yeah.
I told you some stuff that, I'm
Thank
being
you for feeling
transparent,
comfortable,
but, I'm authentic. I have no problem with
Yeah.
it. And you know what? People are going to like it. People aren't going to like it. Oh, well, that's who I am. So, what does that trust look like? Can you develop that trust with each other to say, oh, I messed up. I'm sorry. Or,
Right.
gee, John, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, what's going on here, right? That's what really trust looks like. And from there, you have to go up to conflict. How do you have constructive conflict to really get at the root to answer your question of what the real issue is,
Yeah.
right? And it only happens through constructive conflict and curiosity. And if you trust each other, then you can attack the issue passionately for what you see, what you believe, and what you think is the best solution. If you don't trust each other, you can't have that constructive conflict. It turns into finger pointing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it takes the ego out of it too, right? Like I think, one of the benefits of bringing you in is if you constantly have the same people solving the same problems, they have their blinders on, right? They don't necessarily see it from an outsider's perspective. So, and that's why it doesn't necessarily matter if you're looking or meeting with a real estate team or the dentist, like you said, right? It's just, it pays to get someone with a great business sense to sort of look from the outside in and say, all right, let's just dumb this down real easy and go through the problem.
And trust, John, each other enough to come at it from a completely different approach. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. What are you seeing? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
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 You missed this. We were in the car talking about it. I was telling MZ, I think like implementing, why are you looking at me like that? Don't look at me like that. Implementing ideas allows you to search for the seed of good in every adversity. So truly believing in that the goal is carved in stone and no matter the issue that shows up, that's what separates the good from the great.
Yeah.
I said it way better in the car, but implementing ideas helps you look for the good in the great, good in every adversity, so that way you're constantly focused on moving forward, and it doesn't stop you from looking back and reflecting on the problems and just staying in the problems.
So, John, when you hear Kuro say that,
What do you
where does
think?
where does your brain go on that? By the way, this is me doing my facilitation.
I
Appreciate
think
that. That's good.
about what's the saying that things in life don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Yeah.
And everything that and every obstacle that comes up is just, it's another lesson, right? So COVID hits our business, or COVID hits the world and impacts our business. Well, that's just the most recent obstacle that we have to get past, right? Now we have to all of a sudden learn how to do our presentations over Zoom, right? Which everybody at first thought, holy shit, how am I going to do this? Now I can't get myself off of Zoom calls. You look at the thing and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I got to brush my teeth today and be on camera again.
So are you saying that we're going to start doing Zoom calls and I don't have to sit on the tarmac for an hour
No,
at
we
O'Hare?
I thought you just come 'cause
we
you
pay
love
you
us,
way
that's
too
it.
much. You got to be here.
I mean, guys, it was absolutely crazy. Driving around O'Hare on a plane.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're going in circles. We're back to where we started.
If it wasn't so damn cold, we would come to Chicago. Yeah.
Isn't it more south? I don't know. The a lot of the things that we went over and things that we're learning from is really from just mistakes. MZ, from you, is there any mistakes that you learned from that had the biggest impact on you positively? Let me reword that. What are some mistakes that you've made that had the biggest positive impact on you?
Yeah. Boy, mistakes can be so painful, can't they? I mean, what I found with mistakes is they're going to happen. It's just, it's the nature of the beast. And if you're out there doing something and being a trendsetter, a thought leader, you're going to be vulnerable. You're going to make mistakes, and things are going to happen. Things are going to go bad, right? So I found that surrounding myself with some really good trusted partners. Now, this is different than the mentors that I was talking about earlier. But on my team, through my 40 years of running the business, I had one insurance agent who's still my insurance agent. I've had one accountant who's still my accountant. And when mistakes were made, I could call these individuals up and we could close the door and we could sit for 5 hours hammering out what is the next best thing that we can do to make sure that this mistake is going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, I think it's, when mistakes are going to happen, make sure that you have trusted people that you can go to help you figure out what is the best thing that you can do with it. I'm going to tell you, Kira, off the top of my head, there's so many mistakes, I don't know where to begin, right? But I will tell you this also, that without the mistakes, I wouldn't have grown into who and what I am.
Yeah.
Guys, I wouldn't be able to help you if I didn't make the mistakes.
Right.
Right? I wouldn't be able to tell you the stories and the experience when we're together, in this, in the room going through this. Oh, by the way, our last session, that was awesome, about 12 hours, and
Yeah.
about 8 hours into it, we brought out the bourbon, and things really loosened up, didn't they? Yeah, to really, really
We needed a little extra help.
Yeah, a little help after.
Wouldn't be the first time I had to stay after class.
So good. So yeah, you know what? It's okay to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just don't make a mistake where you're going to lose the farm.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, somebody once said to me, I think it was there was someone I worked for years ago. Couldn't stand the guy, but he used to always say,
Oh, you'll never forget good old what's his name?
Oh yeah, he's one of the driving forces behind me today that keeps me wanting to do what I do.
I feel like I've never heard this story before. I'm excited.
Well, I won't go into the details, but it's he just would say, listen, it's okay to make a mistake, just don't make the same mistake over and over again, or even twice. It's I think the way he phrased it was like, you could come and ask me a question as your boss or your superior, but don't ask me the same question twice.
So good.
And it happens a lot of times in our office too, where I say to anybody on our team, I'm like, listen, I'll help you with anything you want, but let's not waste time having the same conversation over and over again, right?
Oh yeah, that's insanity.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a story of a technician, and before there were the automated lights, that created the color, moved around, and did all the pattern, all of that. We used something called PARS, which really was a 1,000-watt incandescent light.
Right.
Big, powerful light. You put a gel in front of it, and that's the color you got. So because they were 1,000 watts, you needed a lot of power to power up 24 of them, right?
Yeah.
So one of my technicians was running 220 as opposed to 120.
Yep.
And he plugged in a power light, right? And it went, right? So he's like, that's a little weird. Because, every now and then the filament will go bad, and, plugs in another one. He did this 6 or 7 times. Like, dude, why didn't you stop after 2?
How many of my lights did you burn out?
Exactly, yeah. So doing the same thing over and over again without stepping back, going, let's figure this one out and see what's going on.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
We've said this before, and I don't know, but one of the things that goes around our office is just action is better than perfection, right? So, and I have to remind, Kiro's probably rolling his eyes because sometimes I struggle to take immediate action, but it's just taking action every single day and not worrying about if it's perfect or not,
So good.
and being okay to make a mistake and saying, you know what, as long as I got this 90% right, who cares? And it's just, most of these things that we're talking about taking action on, you can screw it up.
Yeah.
And you can fix it tomorrow.
And you will. And you know what, guys? I'm going to tell you this. You'll never, ever have 100% of the information. Never. Because what you think is so is going to change in an instant, especially in the environment and where we're playing in the technological age that we're in. It's going to change in an instant. What's true yesterday is going to be different today. So we have to be comfortable knowing that we're going to make mistakes. You guys know Ray Dalio?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the principles. So I downloaded his book, and I've been listening to his book, and he was talking about becoming comfortable with his associates early on building Bridgewater, that it's okay to make a mistake. One of their clients put in a call, and the trade was never made, and it was like $250,000 that didn't get actioned.
Yeah.
So he implemented something called a list. When you make a mistake, you just put down what the mistake is and you own it, and then you bring it in to the superiors, right, to your managers, and together you figure out, how do we prevent that from happening again?
Yeah.
To your point, John,
Yeah.
that you said, right? It's okay. Make mistakes.
An agent,
Learn from them.
another team leader that we look up to as a mentor was telling us that our clients in our residential real estate business should be so well informed that they never actually have to call our office, right?
Right.
Like they should always know what's going on in their transaction, that if they ever call our office, it's a problem. So let's write down a list of all the reasons they are actually calling the office. Are they calling the office to ask about an inspection? Or are they calling to ask, are we closing on time? So if we keep a list of all of these things and find systems and develop a process to make sure that they're always informed, we can solve those problems. So I always thought that was a great idea by him, one that we never actually implemented.
That's a good thing. So you know what? Tomorrow when we start building our issues list, I mean, that's something that should go on there.
Get there early for that one.
Yeah. It reminds me of, in the event production business, it's really a potentially dangerous business. Think about it, guys. If I'm out doing a festival and I'm doing staging and roofs and lights and all this audio equipment that's outside,
Yeah.
right? And a storm starts coming in, what do? Right? Or if you're in an arena or ballroom and you're putting all this equipment up over people's heads, you better make sure that it's done correctly, because if it's not, on a best day, people get hurt. On a worst day, it's worse than that. So I put in 5 operating principles for my crew chiefs, because I got tired of getting a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning. MZ, what do you want me to do with this? How do we handle this? And really, off the top of my head, I don't remember all of them, but, number one principle that I ask my crew chiefs to start asking themselves as the filter is it safe? Is what I'm about to do or what my client is asking me to do, is it safe for me to really do it?
Right.
Right? Number 2, is what I'm about to do or being asked to do, is it right for the client?
Right.
Is it okay for the client if I do this? Number 3, will I be accountable for it? Am I okay being accountable for the decision I'm about to make because I'm going to own it?
Yeah.
Right? Number 4, is it okay for the business? Is it okay for what we're trying to do in the big picture of things? And number 5, what would MZ do? Right?
Yeah.
And if they went through those 5 principles, they would answer every question that they needed in order to make a decision.
Yeah.
And I made a promise to each of my crew chiefs that if they made a decision, and it was a decision that, and this is how I framed it, and this is important, if it's a decision that I would have them do differently next time, I will bring them in, sit them down, and we'll talk about it to make sure they understand how I want that decision made, as opposed to saying, I want to talk to you about what you did wrong.
Right.
Right?
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then you update the SOP, right?
And then, accordingly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
MZ, if you had to give one lesson or one game changer MZ line that would transform someone's business as best as a line can, what would it be?
Hire us, we suck less. No.
SCS. Who owns that now?
Yeah. game changer, put it in some context. I'm not real sure how I want to answer that one, John. Do you?
If we were to leave and never see you again, and you were like, "I'm gonna miss you guys. We're going to Africa. You don't service Africa
Well,
anymore."
you know what? Barbie wants to go to Africa, so thanks for that one.
But if you had to give us one piece of advice that in your mind would say, that should change everything for them. That one piece of
Yeah.
advice is the best one-liner I can give them. What would it be?
Don't quit. There's always something else you can do, and search for the next best thing you can do.
Spoken like a visionary. Perfect. I love that.
Yeah. Well, you were asking me which role I played, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused. I don't know who I am. A visionary integrator. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
All right. So, MZ, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate your time. I know everyone's time here is valuable. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, get in touch with you, and they were interested in learning more about implementing EOS in their business, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Right. So email address is mz@rocket, and that's rocket with an I, guys, rocketbusinessaccelerator.com. There's a whole history as to why it's rocket with an I, but that's for another conversation at a different time. Or you can just go to rocketbusinessaccelerator.com, and that's the website where you can find me.
Awesome. Well,
And you know what? Yeah, here's the other thing, guys, real quick. I'm glad to talk to anybody. I'm glad to have a cup of coffee, or glad to do a Zoom call, and sit and chat for 30 minutes about what's going on and see how I could help.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
and one thing in closing I'll say is that, obviously the big thing that we've been able to implement is these quarterly meetings where you come in and help us sort of shake things up. But when we had an issue, whatever it was, 2-3 weeks ago, you were happy to jump on a call, and we did a Zoom call for an hour and, worked things out. So,
Yeah. I'm glad to do that. And you know what, guys? It is my pleasure to be able to do that
Yeah.
for you guys and everybody
Yeah.
else. That's
And you know what? If this whole thing doesn't work out, I feel like you could be great at being like a marriage counselor too.
Well,
sometimes
Mercury's
he-
about to go in retrograde, so
sometimes he
be a
comes
lot of
in,
issues to solve.
and sometimes I just need you to come in and be like, listen, you're right. He's not right. You are correct.
Yeah. So just master this.
Yeah.
Yes, dear. You're right, dear. I'm sorry. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Well, I'm still
That's-
working on that.
Yeah, that's
That-
all you have to do in marriage, and you're going to make it to 38 years. And if that fails, just make sure that you get yourself a girl who's a rock like Barbie is.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
a nice.
Beautiful
That was a nice
ending.
plug for the
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yeah.
you, MZ.
Love being here.
All right.
Great.